now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for October 28th. Well, I was out for a week in terms of producing these tropical weather bulletins, but I'm back and here we are with Typhoon Malou, which is a Category 1, a high end at that, with winds of around 90 miles an hour at the moment. The only storm active worldwide this 300th day of 2021. Going into the Atlantic, it's day 149 of the season here, and there is Invest 94L, which happens to be that nor'easter off the New England coast at the moment. There's a 30% chance it could acquire some subtropical characteristics as it begins to turn towards the southeast in a few days. In the Eastern Pacific, ever since Rick died, there's been nothing to note in the Eastern Pacific on this 165th day of the season there. No systems are expected to develop in the next 5 days here, so we are wrapping up the season, or at least getting close to the end in that basin. In the Western Pacific, the only thing active is Malou, but there is another invest that we're watching, 90W, which currently has a 20% chance of development before it gets towards the Mariana Islands, specifically areas like Guam. They may need to watch out in the event this does develop. In the North Indian Ocean, there is nothing going on at the moment, but there is Invest 93S in the southwestern Indian Ocean, currently with a 20% chance of development. Well, you've seen what the Invest have done so far. We'll see whether this one has any kind of high chance developing later on. Well, here we are with the track forecast that is specifically on Malou. Wind of 90 miles an hour and a pressure of 974 millibars. It is expected to start racing off and eventually curve towards the northeast before eventually turning extratropical by the 30th. Other than that, no impacts are expected to be on land, thankfully, so that is definitely good news. Well, that brings us over into the next segment now that Malou's forecast is pretty much cut short. You can see what's going on in the Atlantic. That large extratropical low that you see off of New England happens to be our newest Invest 94L. In what has been quite the inactive October. No storm formation so far this month, and the most inactive October since 2006 to 2007. In the Eastern Pacific, you can see what's going on here. Not much of anything. There's some disturbances that are going on, but those are low latitudes and nothing that's really going to be showing any signs of developing into a tropical cyclone in the slightest anytime soon. In the Western Pacific, you can see the eye attempting to clear itself out with Malou there. It's a bit ragged, which is what you would normally expect with a storm of this intensity, and it is expected to begin pulling its way to the north as it starts its extratropical transition within the next 24 hours or so, and then finishing it within the next 48 to 72 hours. So we'll see what goes on with that one. Thankfully, it's not impacting too much in the end. In the North Indian Ocean, you can see what's going on here. Not much of anything. You can see the remnants of what used to be Tropical Depression 26W, which made landfall in Vietnam yesterday. But other than that, there's not really much to discern here. And there you go. You can see what's going on with Malou as it continues to bring some impacts to the Northern Mariana Islands. Thankfully, given the fact that it is starting to up its speed a bit, the impacts won't be too substantial, especially considering the fact that it did not end into a Cat 2 as forecast. Here are the sea surface temperatures in the Eastern Pacific. You can see what's going on here, slowly cooling, with plus areas that are seeing those 28 to 29 degrees Celsius temperatures. The Gulf of Mexico, 29 degrees Celsius temperatures are continuing to recede, while in the Caribbean it's still remaining around 28 to 29 there. Same can be said for much of the main development region. The Gulf Stream is still remaining pretty warm, around 27 to 28, and then of course the subtropics are slowly cooling as we head towards the latter portion of the season. In the North Indian Ocean, you can see what's going on here. The temperatures are still around 28 to 29 in the Bay of Bengal, 27 to 28 throughout much of the Arabian Sea. In the Western Pacific, you can see what's going on here, around 27 to 29 degrees Celsius throughout much of the basin, where 90W is currently, it's around 30 degrees Celsius. And then of course, as you head northwards, the temperatures of course decrease, and in the southern hemisphere we're still watching those temperatures slowly increase, and it will be habitable enough to form more tropical cyclones within the next month or so. Looking at our sea surface temperatures, you can see what's going on with our La Nina as it continues to progress, with the Atlantic still looking above average in terms of sea surface temperatures, the Eastern Pacific seeing more areas below average, as well as the Western Pacific remaining above average, and the North Indian Ocean slightly above average, Central Pacific still remaining in its below average ways. On this day in 2014, we only had one cyclone active, and that was cyclonic storm Nilafar, which was peaking as a Category 4 with winds of 130 miles an hour, and would eventually become the third strongest storm at that time to exist in the North Indian Ocean. Of course, this would be eclipsed by later storms officially. Of course, you can find more of our On This Day products by Cyclone History. Their Twitter is on the bottom bar below. There was also Hannah, the remnants of Hannah, but really nothing else that was invest or active really on this day. So that brings us over to the next names. In the Atlantic, the next name is still Wanda, followed by Adria. In the Eastern Pacific, the next two names here are Sandra, followed by Terry. And in the Central Pacific, it looks like the terrible twos have come for Hone, now that it is over 2 years that we've been saying that is the next name. In the Western Pacific, the next two names here are Nieto, followed by Ray. And in the North Indian Ocean, the next two names now are Jawad, followed by Asani. Moving on over to the Southwestern Indian Ocean, the next two names here are Anna, followed by Betsy Ray. In the Australian region, we're looking out for Patty and Ruby. And in the South Pacific, we're looking out for Cody. We'll be back for another Tropical Weather Bulletin tomorrow night.